1Corinthians 7. I read from the Institute for Scripture Research, the ISR, because it takes a direct translation from Hebrew to English, Greek to English, and Aramaic to English. Yah is the Elohim of the heavens and the earth, the first and the last and the only, and he's an extremely jealous El. He's so jealous that he doesn't even want the names of idols or mighty ones to come to our lips. And Yah is short for YahWeh, YahWeh, Yod-He, Vav-He. It's like saying Dan, Daniel, Daniel with an E. What is the difference and does matters when people say that Phil, Bob, Sam, and Aaron are the same name when no they're not, and no one in their right mind would ever believe that, and only a fool would believe that a hammer could force its creator to do anything. And there was no letter J in the Hebrew, Greek, or Aramaic text because the letter J is about 600 years old, while the son of Elohim, Yehoshua, died on a stake for the sins of all of humanity over 2,000 years ago. And a direct translation from Hebrew to English, Yehoshua, is Joshua, and I strongly believe that the son of Elohim's name, Yehoshua, means Yahweh is salvation. Excuse me. 7. And concerning the matters you wrote to me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman, but because of whoring, let each one have his own wife, and let each woman have her own husband. Let the husband render to his wife what is her due, and likewise also the wife to her husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does, and likewise the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Do not deprive one another, except with agreement for a time, to give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, so that Satan does not try you because of your lack of self-control. And I say this as a concession, not as a command. For I wish that all men were even as I myself, but each one has his own gift from Elohim, one in this way and another in that. And I say to the unmarried and to the widows, it is good for them if they remain even as I am. But if they do not have self-control, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn. And to the married I command, not I, but the master, a wife should not separate from a husband. But if she is indeed separated, let her remain unmarried or be restored to favor with her husband, and let a husband not send away a wife. That's part of the Torah, by the way. Excuse me. And to the rest I say, not the master, if any brother has an unbelieving wife, and she thinks well to live with him, let him not send her away. And a woman who has an unbelieving husband, and he thinks well to live with her, let her not send him away. For the unbelieving husband has been set apart in the wife, and the unbelieving wife has been set apart in the husband. Otherwise your children would be unclean, but now they are set apart. Each one is accountable for our own actions. Again, this is his opinion. Yeah. And if the unbelieving one separates, let him separate himself. A brother or a sister has not been enslaved to such matters, but Elohim has called us to peace. For how do you know, O wife, whether you shall save your husband? Well, you can't save your husband, and your husband can't save you, and neither can you save your children. Everyone has to make their own decision. Or how do you know, O husband, whether you shall save your wife? Only as Elohim has distributed to each one, as the master has called each one, so let him walk. And so I order in all the assemblies. Was anyone called while circumcised? Let him not become uncircumcised. Was anyone called while uncircumcised? Let him not be circumcised. The circumcision is not N-A-U-G-H-T, and the uncircumcision is not N-A-U-G-H-T, but the guarding of the commands of Elohim does matter. Excuse me. The circumcision is not... Okay, let each one remain in the same calling in which he was called. Were you called while a slave? It matters not to you, but if you are able to become free to, rather use it. For he who is called in the master while a slave is the master's freedman. Likewise, he who is called while free is a slave of Messiah. You were bought with a price. Do not become slaves of men. Brothers, let each one remain with Elohim in that calling in which he was called. And concerning maidens, I have to command from the master, but I give judgment as one whom the master in his compassion has made trustworthy. I think then that this is good because of the present necessity, that it is good for a man to remain as he is. Are you bound to a wife? Do not seek to be loosed. Are you loosed from a wife? Do not seek a wife. But even if you should marry, you have not sinned. And if a maiden should marry, she has not sinned. But much shall have pressure in the flesh. But I would spare you. And this I say, brothers, the time is short, so that from now on, even those who have wives should be as though they had none, and those who weep as though they did not weep, and those who rejoice as though they did not rejoice, and those who buy as though they did not possess, and those who use this world as not misusing it, for the scene of this world is passing away. And I wish you to be without concern. He who is unmarried is concerned about the matters of the master, how to please the master, but he who is married is concerned about the matters of the world, how to please his wife. There is a difference between a wife and a maiden. The unmarried woman is concerned about the matters of the master, that she might be set apart both in body and in spirit. But she who is married is concerned about the matters of the world, how to please her husband. And this I say for your own good, not to put a restraint on you, but for what is proper, and to attend to the master without distraction. And if anyone thinks he is behaving improperly toward his maiden, if she is past the flower of her youth, and so it should be, let him do what he desires. He does not sin, let them marry. But he who stands steadfast in his heart, having no necessity, and has authority over his own desire, and has so decided in his heart to guard his own maiden, does well. So then he who gives her in marriage does well, but he who does not give her in marriage does better. Excuse me. A wife is bound by Torah as long as her husband lives, and if her husband dies, she is free to be married to whom she desires, only in the master, but she is better off if she remains as she is, according to my opinion, and I think I also have the spirit of Elohim. Again, this is all his opinion. Don't take it as this is how you should do it, or this is the law, so this is how you have to do it. No, he says very clearly, and I mean, like, there's quite a few hints along the way that I get that lets me know this is his opinion. Like when he says "I think," and not "I know" or "I believe." It says "I think" or "in my opinion." Anyways.